I don't think there are more than two genders.
How responsible do you feel?
I don't think we really need to take any lessons from Tories.
I think that's nonsense. People can think they're Napoleon if they wish, but it doesn't make them Napoleon.
Jacob, you're a parody of yourself.
Come and have a chat. Recognising Palestinian statehood is a reward for terror. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and I've come to the Labour Party conference expecting the cannons to volley from left of me, and I hope to engage in debate with people here, avoid the echo chamber, talk about the issues. We are ready. Offer people an envelope with a big T for Telegraph on it of views I've given out before, and see if people agree with me, disagree with me, or can convert me to leftyism. And if they do, I'll get a sticker to say I changed Mogg's mind. I think we're rather optimistic in the number we printed, but we'll see how it goes.
I think I'll go for gender.
We'll go for gender. So I said in April 2024, I don't think there are more than two genders. Do you agree with that?
I think it's a really excellent question. I think from a biological and a physiological perspective, there are only male or female, or you might find that you have hermaphrodites or other alternative gender positions from a purely physiological perspective. But from an ideological perspective and from a humanist standpoint, I think people are entitled to consider their gender to be whatever they wish.
But people can think they're Napoleon if they wish, but it doesn't make them Napoleon.
No, absolutely, but everybody has their own right to whatever their feeling is, their preference is. They may have been born into a body that was female but felt inherently male, so does that mean that they are the same gender? No.
It means if they're born female, they're female, and they think they're male, like thinking they're Napoleon when they're born Victoria.
No, it is an absolute, but obviously there is gender identity surgery. There are people that go through significant amounts of hormone treatment. I worked at the NHS, Tavistock and Portman for a number of years when they were delivering their gender identity service, and we saw many individuals who were presenting with very complex mental health and gender issues at the same time.
But isn't that the point? It's a mental health issue fundamentally.
It is in some respects about mental health, but we're very poor at dealing with that in this country as well.
Having understanding with empathy with people who have difficulties with their life is one thing, but trying to change the whole of society because a small number of people are troubled is surely a different one.
Well, I don't think you're asking me a question there. I think you're suggesting
well, you can challenge what I'm saying.
I think you're suggesting that people should, be looked after, whatever their proclivity is and their position, but we can't fundamentally change things so significantly that there is a binary decision of A or B in this matter.
Well, I think we've come to a degree of agreement.
I'd like to talk with you about Nigel Farage.
Nigel Farage, excellent. Nigel Farage is a formidably capable politician. Would you agree with that?
No.
You wouldn't? Why not?
I think he's a charlatan. I think he whistles so many dogs. It's not true. And I think the question that I'd like to put to you about that is how responsible do you feel for his rise?
Well, I think Nigel Farage is a formidably able politician. I think he has his finger on the pulse of what people think, and he has the courage to talk about it, which is why he's been so successful. So first of all, he was talking about Europe, and then more recently immigration and the small boats. And that other politicians have tried to cover these things up, and therefore he's much closer to the people. And Keir Starmer's now following him.
Keir Starmer is culpable in following him. I wonder to what degree, however, you and your conduct in Parliament and your behaviour in Parliament during the Boris Johnson years in particular has led to a real cynicism around politics that Farage, frankly, is exploiting, not by saying what people really think, but by appealing to very small-minded, significant minority of the country.
There's a very large number of people who support him. He got, 4 million votes at the last election. But no, I think Nigel Farage is a fundamentally good thing for British politics because
Would you agree that he's racist?
No, I wouldn't. I think that's nonsense.
Because
being worried about immigration is not racist.
No, it's not just a worry about immigration, is it? It's about some of the things that he's said about migrants in particular and about small boat people, which is clearly demonising.
And
that's one of the tropes
reasonable
of racism.
Perfectly
you
reasonable
demonise human beings.
to criticise people who come to this country illegally and try to claim asylum. And
Nobody is illegal.
Well, they're coming on boats illegally, and actually it was illegal until Labour changed the law and made it legal again.
No person is illegal in and of themselves.
We had made it illegal for people to come on small boats.
You made that decision.
Yeah, I backed that strongly. Yes, people who've got to France have absolutely no right to come onto the UK. France is a safe place, they can stay there.
What do you think people do?
Why do they come here?
Yes.
Because we're a great country. I mean, it's a compliment to us. But we can't take all these people. We've taken far too many people in too short a space of time.
When you say we can't take these
we haven't got the housing for them, we haven't got the roads for them.
Because you haven't built it.
Well, the Labour Party's doing no better at building housing, actually.
But you can't wash your hands of the fact that you have been in government for the last 14 years.
I'm aware of that. And
against that backdrop,
we allowed too much.
UKIP and then Reform have grown.
Well, if you take it
because
back,
you've enabled the right wing.
If you take it back, it's Tony Blair who opens the floodgates to Eastern European immigration.
You see, even that phraseology, Jacob, opened the floodgates.
He did open the floodgates. Huge numbers of people came here. I don't think we're going to agree, but thank you.
We're not.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Thank you. So things that I've said about Keir Starmer in the past. He has no ideas, no originality, and no inspiration. I said that as long ago as December 2024. It's hard to disagree with now, isn't it?
It is pretty hard. Could you tell me a little bit more about it? Your views on Starmer, why you think he doesn't have anything behind him there?
Once he got power, he had no idea what to do with it. He didn't have that driving set of principles that motivate politicians to get up in the morning and do difficult things. Even in his own terms, we were told the grown-ups were back in charge. But it doesn't feel like that, does it, after whatever it is, 15, 16 months?
Well, as a Labour member, maybe my grown-ups are back in charge.
Rather than mine.
Rather than yours.
All right, so you have chosen Nigel Farage. And I said in September, Nigel Farage is a formidably capable politician. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, he's out for what he can get, and he knows how to do it, yeah.
He understands what British people think. He has his finger on the pulse.
I don't know, he certainly doesn't understand what I think. I think he's quite patronising. There's no way in 100 years I'd ever vote for him.
No, I wouldn't expect you to vote for him. But he's able, he understands that Labour is to some extent dancing to his tunes. No one was talking about small boats before Nigel.
For very good reason. They don't really matter.
Well, the government thinks they matter. I mean, they're trying to stop them. Keir Starmer said he'd smash the gangs. Hasn't managed it, but he said he'd do that. It was Nigel who highlighted the small boats, and you mentioned that you thought they didn't particularly matter.
We didn't have any small boats until Nigel Farage got us out of Brexit, did we?
Well, we had them coming in on lorries instead.
Yes, but we didn't have boats. I didn't ask that. I said we didn't have boats. Yeah, but so he did that, yeah. And now he's saying, oh, gosh, we got all these. But are you going to go? I'm a mathematician at heart. The numbers don't add up. It is not a great big threat.
Recognising Palestinian statehood is a reward for terror.
Yeah, so reward, what do you mean by reward for terror? Are you referring to October the 7th?
That's right.
Yeah, so a lot of people who are pro-Israeli would like to believe that the conflict started on October the 7th, but we know the oppression of the Palestinian people has been taking place since 1948, since the Nakba. And what's interesting is, as at least the same number of Palestinians have been killed every consecutive year since the Nakba by the Israeli government, but when an equivalent number of Israeli people are killed, suddenly the media decide that there's a terrorist attack. So is the death of Palestinians not considered a terrorist attack on all of those consequent years from 1948 onwards?
Well, clearly what happened on the 7th of October was a terrorist attack.
Yeah.
The British government had no prospect of recognising a Palestinian state before that terrorist attack.
Yeah.
Therefore, it is a reward for terror.
I believe that terror was caused by the Israeli occupation of Palestinian land and our complicity in not pushing for a peaceful solution to the conflict.
Of got choice of questions: Palestine, immigration, or gender. Which would you like?
I think it would be safest to do immigration.
Immigration?
Because Palestine, I might blow a gasket. So.
Oh, okay. Well, let's not have any gasket blowing today. I think one of the interesting things about the immigration debate is that if you talk to people, they say we want all those millions deported tomorrow. But George, who's living next to me, he's a marvellous chap, and I don't want him deported. And I think the whole immigration debate is much more nuanced than it sometimes appears to be, because of the people who have integrated, are part of the community, are actually very welcome. And we're as a country very good at that, much better than America or France. But that if you have very large numbers coming in a short time, it makes it much harder to carry out the process of assimilation.
I do understand that. I do not think, however, that identity cards or a slogan from either your government or Keir Starmer's government about stop the vote, smash the gangs, it's just empty rhetoric. And demonising the people who arrive perhaps isn't the answer. And if we could have the conversation without the rhetoric that goes with it, that would be very good.
All right. Well, on that, because I agree with you so strongly on ID cards, which I think a complete waste of time and bogus, may I give you I changed Mogg's mind? Because we agreed.
I don't know that you did. I did, but
we agreed on enough, I think. Thank you.
In exchange, may I offer you a badge that says "Poverty is a political choice"?
Oh, certainly you may. Thank you very much.
You don't have to wear it, but I'm just.
But that's very kind.
I want you to know that fair is fair.
Yes.
And exchange is no robbery.
A fair exchange is no robbery. The Equality Act has codified woke ideology into law and needs to be repealed.
So I disagree with that, because I think that, as in the name, I think that it helps bring more equality to Britain, and I think it helps remove harassment, discrimination.
The reason I think it should be removed is that the Equality Act undermines the fundamental principle of British law, English law strictly, that we are all equal under the law. It creates different levels of equality, and I think that is in itself unequal.
I think we can both agree that there should be equality under the law, and that's a staple of British democracy. I think that there does need to be some form of legislation to ensure that, because, I mean, we might have different ideas about what the state is there for, but I think that's one of the purposes of it. What would you have instead to help protect women, racial minorities, etc.?
Is it worse to attack somebody because of their racial characteristics against attacking somebody elsewhere? That's the issue, that it's the aggravation.
I understand that, but I don't think the point is necessarily that the crime in itself is worse. I think it's to add an extra layer of deterrence, because I think that, for instance, anti-Semitism has risen several hundred, if not several thousand % since October 7th.
Do you know, when I was at university, that anti-Semitism wasn't an issue in this country.
I don't think it wasn't an issue. It was a lot better than it was now.
It never came up. It just that.
I wouldn't say never, but very rarely. My grandma, so she was born in this country, lived in England and Northern Ireland. She used to own a shop in Blackpool, a clothes shop, and she tells me stories of the most horrific anti-Semitism. People refusing to go near her, people confronting her, people whispering about her behind her back because she was a Jew.
Right.
So I don't think it's fair to say
it died out. Okay, no, I'll accept, but it had gone to levels where
I agree.
It wasn't a primary political issue.
Of course, yeah.
But it has come back in a horrid way.
Absolutely, yes.
And I certainly agree with you that it's important to get rid of that type of prejudice is too weak a word, the vileness that has entered, hatred that has entered society.
Absolutely. But then, so if we agree that an act isn't necessarily worse because of the type of person it's perpetrated on, but we can agree that if acts towards certain types of people are more common, for example, if
they may need more policing. I mean,
no, absolutely. But
if attacks take place on a certain
community, but you can't have police everywhere, and we don't want a police state where people are being surveilled all the time.
We're about to get it, but we don't want it.
Exactly.
Yes.
For example, if attacks were becoming increasingly common towards white males such as yourself, I'm sure you would want a greater form of deterrence, as you could see a clear pattern there. And I think the act in itself isn't necessarily inherently worse.
I think you direct resources to investigating crimes that are taking place against a particular community.
Of course, but you don't want...
But that's different from saying the law should be different. I think we should all be equally protected under the law. I think otherwise it becomes very difficult because...
But at some point you need a form of deterrence, I think. For example, as a Jewish person in this country, I don't feel sufficiently protected because I fear that if I wasn't Jewish, it would be I would be at far less risk. And I think I don't want the act to happen to me and then for it to be investigated. I want people to be scared enough to not perpetrate it.
We want the law to be enforced properly and it to be a safe society.
Yeah.
Well, I think on that we can certainly agree. You chose the envelope on Keir Starmer, and I said this of him in July. Starmer is in government, but not in control of events. He is the bagatelle ball bouncing around the board rather than the man of the moment. Isn't this right?
I think a man with a majority of 170 is currently demonstrating that slow and steady wins the race after the mess we inherited last July from 14 years of Tory rule.
But if you look at the previous few weeks, with Angela Rayner going and Peter Mandelson going, it was no, they're going to stay, and then yes, they've gone. Once again, not in control of events, but moved by events.
Well, events will always take control, won't they? Your own party was consumed by events, time after time. I don't think we really need to take any lessons from Tories about how events can take control of the agenda.
Most of the tube lines are now automatically operated. They have observers in the car, not drivers.
Yes.
You should fire the lot of them.
Why shouldn't they want high salaries and good work conditions?
I'm all in favour of people having good working conditions and being paid what they deserve, but they are very well paid.
We seem to take a more generous view to subsidising some industries than others, don't we? So, I mean, you think of the 2008 crash and public funds had to be put into the banking sector, but then it seems if it's a certain social class of people that their jobs are more easily thrown away.
Well, I've got these stickers somewhere in my pocket if you've changed Mogg's mind. And I think for your point on bankers, you have succeeded. The bankers didn't deserve all the bailouts that they got. And if I could find where I put the stickers, I would give you one. But I seem to have lost them.
Oh, no. Well,
here we are. Here we are. Let me give you.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you, Jacob.
There you go. And Leo, you can have one. Two.
Modest part.
A supporting role. A brotherly role.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Here we go. The mystery choice. The left have no sense of humour.
Well, that's ironic, given that I'm going to see Armando Iannucci. I'm supposed to disagree with you, I think, but colleagues are saying they're finding... Now we're in power, they're finding it hurtful, all the Radio 4 satire and such like.
Which they liked when they were in... When it was about me, they thought it was very
precisely.
funny.
I actually like all of it, because there's... I mean, you've stood in the sunset of, like me. Actually going out on the campaign trail, there's all sorts of comedy moments and mix-ups, isn't there?
But it's... Humour in the Labour Party isn't really approved of. That if politicians, left-wing politicians tell jokes, they get in terrible trouble. Whereas right-wing politicians, like Boris and Donald Trump, are always telling jokes, and the left can't cope with this. It drives them mad.
I don't deny there's a certain po-facedness about it in terms of you can't joke about things like feminism and climate change and such like. And there sometimes is an inability to actually see the funny side of things. But these are real issues. I suppose that's the argument we would put, and joking about it is inappropriate sometimes.
But isn't every argument advanced if you add a little bit of humour to it? Isn't there in almost every policy prescription some element of the absurd? Isn't
That's
there,
true.
Even in, the morning round you go on and say every policy your government's following is marvellous. Everyone knows you don't really think
to some
that.
extent, whether, Jacob, you're a parody of yourself in some ways. I think you're self-aware in the way other people possibly think that you're not.
Well, I certainly gave people a good laugh on election night last year.
Exactly.
There's rather too many, unfortunately.
Well, anyway, but no, I'm glad you're here, actually. It's good to have both sides of the arguments, fight it out for both ways, and let's not go like America. At least we can come and debate it and argue, and there's no kind of repercussions and
doesn't get intensely kind of violent as it's happened.
And it's nice to bring a bit of Somerset to Liverpool.
Exactly.
We had the
I hope we
Wurzels
bump
on a
into
moment
you.
ago, which was great.
That was for the farmers, Mr.
Nice to speak to you.
Well, I enjoyed that. I was broadcast. Well, I was doing this. Anyway, Greg, thank you so much.
We all work together.
Do you want to come and have a chat?
I'm talking to Mr. Rees-Mogg. We're always good. We do talk amicably, don't we, Mr. Rees-Mogg?
We do. We've spoken over many years.
We have.
We've agreed over nothing.